Hello, this is a video to go over the options that you'll see here for display mode when we click on point in time's display settings. Again, you'll only ever see this option here when you're modifying a point in time as it appears inside of a client or partner information page. So point in time display settings. We have six options here. 3 of them begin with this word minimalist and the other 3 do not. So let's just quickly show you kind of the difference between those minimalist things versus not minimalist. So let's jump to kind of a more typical point in time block that this is kind of the standard way of doing it, where we have very clear move in and move out blocks of information. We've got headers that says we're in a point in time. Here's this entry. It is collapsed or expanded. And many times this is what you want. You want really distinct blocks of information. But there's other times when you want to take a minimalist approach, kind of have the point in time kind of blend into the client variables a little bit more. And this is what we're seeing here for this address and locations point in time, where we have a slight visual indicator that this is a separate entry by having these darker lines, but otherwise it does kind of blend in and look more like, typical client variables that you would see in here. Still add multiple ones and it behaves very similarly, but again, kind of blends in a bit better. All right, so that's the difference between those two things. And let's kind of go through some of these examples and then we'll talk a little bit more about like when you would want to pick minimalist versus the other ones as we go through and talk about them. And again, hopefully from here, the wording here, what it says kind of tells what you should be expecting, but doing it anyway. Latest entry expanded, all others collapsed. So this would be in situations where we only really care about seeing the most recent entry. Everything behind it is pretty much, it's good that we have it, but not very relevant. So income is a good one. So, it's good that we have this old income entry from the day prior, I guess. But we really just want to see front and center the latest one. So that's when you would want to do something like that. And then something like the minimalist version of this is only the latest entry is visible. And that would be, again, our address point in time where we would say, okay, it's good that we have access in the system to somebody's old addresses, but all we care about right now is seeing their latest address. All other ones are hidden from this view. Okay, let's do this next one. Entries with exit date collapsed. So the move in and move outs would be a good example of this one. So we had already kind of expanded that one out like that. But let's say that exit date wasn't in there. You would say, okay, this entry they haven't exited yet. It's still relevant. I do not want it collapsed. But if there is an exit date in there, the system will go, okay, they have exited. It is no longer relevant. It's here if we need it, but collapse it, get it out of the way. All right, a variable must have a very specific ID for the system to recognize it as the primary date field that says it is exited, collapse it. Now let's see if I can write it down here. It would be exit / date. All right, so if you need our help changing a variable ID to have it be recognized as the exit date for a point in time, let us know and we can easily change that for you. And then the minimalist version of this is entries with exit date are totally hidden. They're in there. We get them if we need to, but the only thing that we're seeing are the entries that do not have an exit date. And then the last one's all entries expanded. So this would be, for example, incident records. All entries are equally relevant. We want them all expanded and all equally visually accessible to the user. And then maybe in the minimalist version of this would be something like this, like pets, where we'd be like, okay, we really don't, all of our pets are equally relevant, where it's only a point in time so that we can have a way of putting in an infinite amount of pets and their different names. And so, we're putting it in this minimalist view with all entries expanded, and that would work well for something like this. All right, one last thing about kind of this minimalist view in these kinds of situations, all entries, all point in time structures have to have a date field in there for the system to sort it by that date. But in a situation like this, I don't care what the date is. Like, why do I need to waste my time putting in the fact that, like, as of today, they have a mouse? You know, I just wanted to know that, like, as of today, they want a mouse. I don't want another thing. So in this situation, it probably makes sense to set the date field to be visible never. And that will make it so that the system is recording that on August 27th, we recorded that they have a mouse, but we don't have to be bothered by having, you know, all these cluttery date fields in there for us to pick from. It's just going to always set that date as the current date that we created the record on. All right, I hope this information was helpful to you. If you are totally lost on what makes sense for one of those 6 settings, feel free to contact EmpowerDB support and we'd be happy to give you some guidance. Have a good day.